Welcome to College Admissions Toolbox, giving you the edge you need to get into the colleges of your dreams, with your host, Steve Schwartz. That's me. Today, we're talking with Brenda Breton. Welcome to College Admissions Toolbox, Brenda. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Steve, and I'm so glad that you've invited me to participate. I'm excited.
Thanks so much for being on the show. Now, you have a really exciting background. You've been assistant academic dean at a college, you've taught business, you were even a high school principal, and now you're a private college admissions consultant. Tell us a little bit more about you.
I'll tell you that my best friend from 5 years old said to me, "Oh, why don't you?" I was meeting her in March. You know what March is like in New England. It was very cold and rainy, and I had to do a budget. And I was complaining about having to do so many budgets. And she said to me at lunch, "Well, why don't you quit?" And I said, "What am I going to do?" And she said, "Well, we could start this business." And her background was human resources. So I was so grateful that someone pointed out to me that I could actually do something other. So my personal life, I think, my professional and personal life come together. I really love learning. I think I'm a perpetual student. And I don't think always students are excited about school. I think sometimes high schools can really take your love of learning away. I say that having been a high school principal. And I've also been in a college. I can see what happens. So I thought if I could put those two together and take my passion for really trying to inspire people to love learning authentically. There's got to be something like to love. That's basically how I got into the business, and it really encompasses my personal life.
Well, that's so wonderful to hear. You found a practice that you're really passionate about and enjoy. It seems like you're kind of at the intersection of these multiple worlds.
Exactly. I mean, when you're in the high school world, you'll see all the things behind closed doors that people don't know.
Sure.
We won't reveal on this podcast. We won't reveal that yet. And then in the college world, I saw everything that went on behind closed doors on that world. But here's the families and students in the middle. And they have to be very wise consumers. How do you successfully use your high school, and how to go on to college, and how do you find a perfect match? So that was really great. And I'm a perpetual student. I take piano lessons, still taking piano lessons at this age. I'm running out of time. And I take art lessons. So I feel like that whole learning piece is crucial, and I love to read. So
Sure.
I
That's great.
do all my passions, but I love art, I love music, I love reading. So
great. So you kind of alluded to this a bit before, but what was that pivotal moment that led you to, you were a high school principal, and then immediately afterwards you started your own practice. What was that pivotal moment where you said, "I'm ready to leave the school and start working with students one-on-one"?
Gosh. I believe that everyone can excel. I really think I have high expectations for people, and people will meet those expectations. And we were a very high-performing high school, a very strong high school. But I thought we could have been stronger. And there were some people who thought, well, why do you keep pushing us? We don't care if we're number one. And when someone said to me, "We're not interested in being number one high school," that was a pivotal moment for me.
Oh, wow.
And I'm being really honest. I said, "What? How can you not want to be number one?" And U.S. News and World Report just ranked the high school. We used to be in the top 3, hover between 3 and 2. Now it's down to 7. And I don't like that. It's still on my resume. So I like to be with people who want to reach. However, some people feel that reaching, like, "Oh, I can't do it." I like to empower people to say, "You are capable of doing this. This is something I know you can do." And then they feel they can do it and they achieve it. And I think that's what I do in my practice, is where at one place, I'm not going to push them in an area they don't want to be in. But if they said, "Oh, I'm not really good at this," "Oh, we can make you good at this. We can get you. Do you love it? Do you like it? Do you want to be good at it?" Then we'll figure out a way for that to happen.
Wow, Brenda, that's so important. It sounds like you're really committed to success and to motivation and to growing as an individual.
And I'm not criticizing high schools by any means at all. I don't mean it to say that way because they have so many people. But if I could do a one-on-one with someone to really have them, they're growing right before my eyes. I'm sure you noticed that, Steve, that we start, they can be a sophomore, they can be a junior, whatever. But by the time they've made their college decision by May of their senior year, they've changed. They've transformed in front of me. So what we're both trying to do is we're trying to predict. We have to analyze where they are right now And then we have to predict where they're going to be, not only September of their freshman year, but where they're going to be senior year of college. So you kind of have to predict where they're going to, who they are and where they're going to go, how they're going to grow. And it's my job to kind of set that momentum for them so that they can grow into the person they're supposed to be. It sounds kind of hokey, but it actually does work.
No, absolutely. I mean, you kind of have to kind of see where they're at and then see where they could be and, guide them along the way. It's definitely something I see in my practice as well.
Yeah. You're going to say, I think, that person might outgrow that small school. I can tell that person might get a bit bored with a 2,000 student school. I think it might be a little uncomfortable for the first transition year, but, they'll be happier their junior year in this size school. And I have to explain that to them. And I'm proud to say that when they do make the decision, I'm knocking on wood here, I don't have anyone leave. They stay and they graduate. So that's a plus for me.
Well, that's great.
Made the right match. So
absolutely. I'm wondering, you were talking about that transition from freshman year to senior year, and I'm wondering, you kind of see students all along that road. Could you take us to the moment in time of the worst moment you've seen in college admissions working with a student, and we'll kind of get into some of the lessons learned?
Oh, gosh. Okay. So this is my worst moment, and it could be also the moment when I decided, it was probably one of the first moments that said, am I in the right position as being a principal? I had a very powerful student, a very brilliant student, loved her dearly, who applied to Dartmouth and didn't get in. And her dad was a very well-known business person. So as principal, it became one of those almost a career-ending moment where it was my fault, right? That the school's fault that she didn't get in. So as I was getting kicked around, unbeknownst to me, the admissions officer at Dartmouth was also, Dean of Admissions, was getting kicked around. So I'm thinking, what did we do wrong? So I contacted her, just said, I need to find out what's going on. So I contacted her, and she's, I'm so glad you called, because this man is getting all of his buddies on Dartmouth's case, and I've got him on my case. So I said, let's do this. Let's figure out what went wrong. What I did wrong, not the student, but what went wrong. And she was very frank with us. She said the teacher recommendation was not written for a Dartmouth student. It was written, not that she put another name of the school, but she profiled a student that probably wouldn't be the best match for Dartmouth.
Sure, it's all about that fit.
A personality type not that there's one personality type, but, maybe did they really think about the recommendation? So we brought in people from very selective colleges and had them educate the faculty on how to write powerful recommendations that were not just have success, but to really clearly define who the person was. Well, the student went on to Middlebury, and she got her PhD in math. So what I learned, it was the worst moment because everyone in the whole community was upset, and I had all these powerful people coming after me, and what was I going to do? And, I thought my career's over. They're going to fire me. But I contacted every dean of admissions at the Ivy, and I got through on first call. They all took my call. Now, of course, this was a while ago. They gave me great information. We brought in some great training. But I learned two things. One is that we really have to know what mission is for a school. You have to know that. And students have to be a perfect match. You have to know that student was a better match for Middlebury. So everything really had been done well. Everything had fallen in place. But I'm glad it happened, because that's when I started learning all these sorts of things. What can a high school do to really educate students and to have them learn about themselves? And how can the faculty help? How can everyone work together to make a good match? So that was a bad event for me. Bad event for
such
her.
A valuable lesson there. My goodness. Wow, I'm sorry.
Think about this, Steve. Here she is. She's got into Middlebury, right, which is a perfect match for her. A very selective school, and people are disappointed. And I'm thinking we should have been celebrating.
No, it's really a shame. But valuable lessons learned there. Really great insights that I'm hearing from this. The idea that you've really got to make sure that you're branding yourself as an applicant, not just to be a powerful, strong applicant, but the right fit for that school. And not only do you have to know that, but your recommender has to know that too. They have to know. how have you carried that forward in your work with students today?
Well, I just had a student last night. I said, can you please describe your only son? And the father said, well, he does what he's supposed to do. He's very task-oriented. We don't have to tell him anything. And we know that he sometimes is in some odd situations, but he always makes a good decision. So I've got good decision-making skills, very responsible. He was also resourceful. Like if he couldn't figure things out, he'd go get help from a teacher and he said, I just work in a grocery store. He worked as a cashier in a grocery store. So he's playing a sport. So we had time management. So we had all these different skills. By the time we got done, his mother said, we didn't realize that you really were this good. We thought you were good, but look at all these wonderful strengths. So then I said, who are the teachers writing a recommendation? And he tells me, and I say, how well do they know you? And he said, well, they know me pretty well. And I said, what I would do is we're going to put a little form together with all your activities that you can use for your application that has all the stuff that we can repurpose it. And we'll put your signature strengths right on top of it so that when you hand it to your English teacher, who is also your baseball coach, he'll see those words. And then we're going to put the list of your schools, and we're going to put some of the values the schools have. And we're going to then say, what are some of the examples? So I have this little template they use that he and the teacher. The hard part is the students. I think the hardest thing is asking teachers for recommendations.
Sure.
And so he did that right last night. He did it. He goes, oh gosh, will they like me doing that? I said, they'll appreciate you doing that because you help them organize their thoughts and they can be very specific. So that's hard for them to advocate for themselves, but so important. So that's what he did. He wrote it down. I put all the notes together, sent them to it, emailed them to him. So he had the whole form and everything. And we'll revise it. And I'll have to keep bringing them back. So I'm going to have to say, Rob, you got to go back to this. You've got to go back. Look at that, And I also encourage them to ask your teacher for the recommendation. Is he or she going to share it with you? Because people have shared them when I write them. And I like to say, you might want to put this in there, which is great. That would be helpful to me. So I try to have them learn how to advocate. He's a baseball and a football player. He's not shy, but to go in and say, help me out, it's kind of hard. Well,
it's all about context, right? I mean, working with your teammates on a sports team is a lot tougher than going to an adult and asking for a favor. But you got to keep in mind that by putting that list together, that template, here's some stuff about me, here's some stuff about the school. Please, would you be willing to write a letter for me? Please, I've gone and given you these papers to make it easier for you.
I think that's been pivotal for me, is really with Rob last night and everyone in the, my student who's very musical. We've got to make sure the teachers, they may not know he's playing the saxophone. We have to explain that he has composition and all that sort of thing going on. Sometimes they don't know that, the people writing recommendations. So we really need to share. And that's hard for anyone to do. I don't even like doing it. Right?
Sure. But I mean, it is really important to have teachers know the other stuff that you've got going on. It could, especially if you're involved in extracurricular, maybe you have a band concert or a competition of some kind. And so if they know that all along the way, then if you ask for maybe, could I have an extension on this assignment, or could I maybe take this test a different day just because I'm going to be up super late? We're doing research for this professor maybe. Right. At a local college, keeping all that in mind, if they get a fuller picture of you, they'll be a little bit more forgiving too, which is, I think, a side benefit totally separate from the letter of rec.
I do. I mean, I just had a boy this week say to me, he worked really hard to get his District 2, make the jazz band for District 2. He made the state jazz band, which is higher than District 2. But he had difficulty doing District 2. He's got all kinds of awards. He worked really hard to make he just made District 2. I said, you have got to write that down and put this on the form, because it would make a great essay too, because you had other wonderful awards that are very prestigious, but you really wanted that one. And some people would say, why are you worrying about that one? You've got higher awards. But he wanted that District 2, just a district jazz band. He wanted to make it, and he did. So those are the sorts of things I think colleges like to see, is that he was self-motivated. He was driven by what he wanted. He wanted that, and he worked towards it. That's a good thing to share with someone. when teachers writing recommendation, because it shows how that I like kids that have their own sense of what's important to him or her. This is what's important to me, and I'm going to work towards that. And that's my job, to empower them to do that.
That is so great. I mean, the idea that, you're passionate about a particular area like music, you pursue it, and you also make sure that your teachers know about this. I mean, even if, it's a math teacher or a science teacher, it gives them a fuller sense of who you are as a person. It impresses them. And maybe the saxophone has nothing to do with science. But when they're writing their letter of rec, they're not writing it about molecular biology. They're writing it about you as a person and those character traits. Yep. So if they're impressed, you won the state championship, you won the district award, you are resourceful or resilient or persistent or whatever adjective we want to use for this, that's going to carry over. I'm wondering, Brenda, if there are any moments of inspiration that you've seen working with this. We were talking about it before, a light bulb moment that led them on the path to success.
Well, one of them, he's grown up now, so it won't bother him if he ever listens to this. I mean, he's a little older. He came to me and was a disengaged student. I don't make up these stories. This is authentic. And wasn't all that. He probably struggled a little bit with school. He didn't know what he had for passion. So after spending some time with him and trying to get him motivated for college, he didn't know what he wanted to do. He said to me, this was his moment. I said, you can do what you want. What do you really want? What do you want to do? And he said, I really want to be a professional wrestler. So, most people said, well, you didn't let him stick with that, did you? And I went, of course I did. I ran with it. So, ran with it. He wanted to be a professional wrestler. He had his name. We went with a college that had wrestling. We did the whole thing. And I think knowing that his concept, that I didn't say, what the heck is wrong with you? You can't be a professional wrestler. I mean, I didn't want to say wrestling's not real. That wouldn't have been a good thing. Or whatever it is. But he wanted wrestling. So we just went with it. And we got him in the right college. He was inspired. He became very interested in sports science. Needless to say, he got his master's in kinesiology.
Wow.
Training. Yep. And I think at that moment, it was when I learned that whatever they love, embrace it. Because I think they hear a lot of things like, that's crazy. You have to have a passion. You have to have something you love. And another story that I learned, that you have to be able to change on a dime. That parents, let them change on a dime. I have a student who wants Bentley. He wants Bentley since I've had him as a freshman. He wants to go to Bentley in Waltham, Mass. He wants it. It's October 29th. We're about ready to do early decision of Bentley. He calls me up and says, Syracuse. That's a big switch.
Yeah.
So I could have said no, which I felt like, no, you can't go to Syracuse. We're all ready to go with Bentley. He says, I want Syracuse. My mom said I could fly up and see Syracuse. I go, all right. I say to him, all right. Calls me from Syracuse. I want Syracuse now. We don't have Syracuse anywhere in this. It wasn't even in the profile. So we worked like the Dickens to get the essays figured out. He gets into Syracuse. He loves it. And he's graduating. So what I learned is I have to be able to shift at any moment. And they want to shift. If they are said to you for 14 years, 15 years, they want a certain college, and then at the last moment, they don't want that college, you got to go with it. You've got to really run with it. And that happens frequently, Steve. Sure.
I mean, you're young, you're in high school, you have one big moment that changes everything for you, whatever that might be. You don't want to suddenly stick with your old path and commit to being somewhere else for the next 4 years. So yeah, I mean, it's a big decision. You got to pick somewhere and apply to a place that you're ultimately going to be happy. And even if you apply to 10 colleges and only get into a safety where you didn't really want to go anyway, my personal opinion is hold off. Don't necessarily go down a path that you're not going to be comfortable with.
Exactly.
You're not going to be happy in the end. Don't stick with that. Don't stick with that path. But yeah, adaptability is important.
Don't you think, though, if they've done a good job, if students follow the steps that you recommend, and you've really done some soul searching and some thinking, that for the most part, students do very well in the process?
Oh, sure. I mean, those changes on a dime are certainly not common, and when they do happen, they're often outside of our control, certainly. You don't know what happened at school or in their social life or discovering something new. Those things happen for sure. But yeah, if you do a lot of that reflection and soul searching, and you're not writing your essays the night before.
Exactly.
You've had some time to think about it by this point.
Yep. And so when you turn on a dime, you've got all your material still there. You have a better sense of who you are, and so you can change on a dime. So it's not frivolous, really.
Absolutely. No, it's a really valuable insight there.
Yeah.
I'm glad that everything worked out.
Yeah. I also have students that make decisions. I never laugh. Sometimes I want to chuckle, but I take everything they say seriously. But I've had students say, well, like one girl said to me, I can't go to Pennsylvania. And I said, why? Can't you go to Pennsylvania? There's too many dead people there in Pennsylvania. She must have gone through Gettysburg. That's what I'm thinking.
Right. You see, the cemeteries, that's what Pennsylvania is to you.
So I'm like, okay, too many cemeteries. So, bad people make decisions. They can't get out of the car because their school color was maroon, and I hate maroon, so they're not getting out of the car to see the school. So sometimes, you want to chuckle,
But I mean, some of those decisions about where to apply to college are they might sound silly, but then on reflection, they're actually a bit serious. I had one student who visited, a small liberal arts college and felt like everyone there was a hipster just by walking around, and they couldn't picture themselves there. This student was like, I'm more of a preppy or Abercrombie, Aeropostale kind of kid, and they're all wearing stuff that I just think is super weird. And so if you can't picture yourself there, that's not a weird basis on which to make a decision necessarily.
I'm so glad you
might not understand, but to me, that makes perfect sense.
I agree totally, because I say to the students, moms and dads, you're going on all these tours, right? And you've seen those tours with a big line of people, and they're seeing all the buildings. And I say, get off the tour at some point and go sit in the union. And get there on a Thursday night, a Friday night, or a Saturday. Get off the tour, sit in the union, go in the library, look at those kids, see what they're doing for fun. If people are going into the city clubbing, then that might, and you don't like that, you're an outdoorsy sorts of person, that you like hiking and that sort of thing, that might not be the best match for you. If those kids really are, earthy, real environmentalists, and you're like a city person, that might not be the best match for you. So you've got to look. If it's a smaller school, the personality, you've got to find out what they're doing for fun. If it's a small school, you've got to find if they're doing poetry slams and you're not into poetry slams and it's a small school and that's what's happening, you really want to look carefully there. And that's happened to some of my kids. They get there and they say, I'm not into English. I'm like, well, I'm not into this reading and a cappella.
The social life aspect is so important because it's not just the classes you take or what these beautiful buildings look like. It's the people. You're going to be with people. You're going to be with other students. You're living away from home for the first time, maybe, and that's going to be really important. Is the social life. I always tell kids, go to the dining hall, sit with some actual students there, get away from mom and dad a little bit, get a sense of the real deal. Look at the flyers where extracurricular activities are advertised, and you'll really get a sense of you'll get a real sense of what life would be like there, because you don't want to just get the school's take on things, which is all sanitized and whitewashed and the fancy brochure where they handpick certain kids. You want to look at who's actually there.
But it's part of the process. Then around October, November, you start settling in and say,
you find your group of friends, you find your social circle, and then things are smooth sailing from there typically.
Right. Yep.
No,
and March, you'll be all set in March. By March, you're all, you feel like you've been there your whole life.
Yeah. No. So many valuable insights, Brenda. Thanks so much for sharing them. I want to move now into my favorite part of the interview, which is the lightning round. I'm going to ask you some rapid-fire questions. You give me some rapid-fire responses. Are you ready?
I am.
Great. What's your number one piece of advice for the college admissions process?
Start planning early.
Definitely. So important.
And if a mom's listening right now, it doesn't mean go to college tours. It just means that if you're driving, across the country and you happen to be driving by a college, just stop so your child can see a college. Take a pit stop, get a snack, go on the campus in the Union, pick up a magazine, get something to eat, look around and say, this is what college looks like. Get back in the car and keep going. Yeah,
you get a sense of what you like, what you don't like. Yeah. That process, the longer, the better. Definitely. Could you share with us one habit that you believe leads to college admission success?
Reading.
Reading.
I know. Sorry, listeners, but reading.
We didn't say read what, though. Maybe you could read something you enjoy on the side.
I think anything. If you're a young person, you like sports, read Sports Illustrated, read football magazines, read comic books. I don't care what you're reading. You're reading all day. Can be anything. Read online. Read anything at all. If you like something, people say I don't like to read. Well, do you like reading about baseball cards? Read about baseball cards. Do you like graffiti? Read about graffiti. Read anything at all. Go online, learn how to do more. Anything.
Sure, and that's also one of those ways you can discover that passion that you then pursue down the line, maybe on the side as an extracurricular of some kind.
It doesn't have to be a book.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You could read online too. Now, speaking of reading, what's one book that you believe no college applicant should be without?
Well, I'm going to say A Parent's Guide to Paying for College by Dick Preston, and I'll send you the link. It's an ebook right now. The other site is The College Solution by Lynn O'Shaughnessy. She's really good too.
That's a great one. Yeah, we'll link to the book and the website. Both.
Yeah, those are really
great. Thank you. What are you up to these days, Brenda? What's next for you? What are you working on?
Well, in my business, I'm trying to find really good visuals to help people organize, because some things can be kind of boring and the applications can be boring, but trying to use some visual tools to help people learn about themselves, like I was talking about signature strengths, how to connect colleges and their variables. So I'm trying to do that. I'm always trying to stay on top of the technology, how to really be able to. I'm trying to do little snippets with kids if they have 10 minutes or 15 minutes. Just do a quick video conference. Let's just do 15 minutes. Bang. I can get you through, especially if you're stressed.
Yep.
Give me 15 minutes. I can get you over that. 10 minutes. So I'm trying to be available in little chunks. And so it's more that sort of finding ways to inspire people and to use their time wisely. That's what I'm always trying to do. It's hard because there's so many things on there, demands on their time. How to use Facebook, Instagram, all the social media to really make the connections with the school. So I'm doing a lot of that social media and learning. I mean, I constantly have to keep up with all of this, and I visit colleges a lot. So those are my priorities: being on campus, doing research online, and trying to keep it current and digestible for my families.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of information out there to keep track of. So I'm glad you're doing your best to stay on top of it. Yep. Where can folks find you online, Brenda?
I have a website, www.brenmar, B as in boy, R-E-N as in Nancy, M-A-R.net.
And thanks so much for joining us, Brenda. You were great. Keep us posted as you develop those visuals. We'll definitely be interested to.
This is great. You're helping so many people with this, Steve. I think it's a great opportunity for people to learn, and I'm so honored that you invited me.
Some of you guys were asking me about how you should go about getting feedback on your college essays and your college essay topics to start with. So I just wanted to give you some quick tips on this. Most people will tell you to just get feedback from friends, family, and teachers, but there are some major problems with this. I mean, sure, they can give advice and read drafts, but it can get kind of tricky sometimes. They know you personally, but the people reading your application don't. It can be hard to say no to these people you know and respect if you don't agree with the changes they want you to make. What you really need is feedback from people who haven't met you before, who can give you their real, honest, constructive criticism and advice to help you write the best essay possible. But at the end of the day, it's going to be your essay, and you need to be able to say no if you don't agree with one of their changes. So I really recommend getting feedback from people you don't know, or at least people you don't know very well. This way, you'll feel more comfortable disagreeing with them if you don't like the suggestions they make. So you're probably thinking, where do you find these people? I mean, one thing you could do is ask friends of friends, acquaintances, to exchange college essays, the sort of thing you review mine, I'll review yours. But another place you can find these people is, of course, the internet. I really think this is one of the best ways. There's just something about the internet that makes it easier for people to get really honest with their feedback and share what they really think about things. So I've built a small private online community where you can get feedback from other students who are going through the process right now. By working together with other students, you can share advice and get feedback on your college essays. You'll also get feedback on your college essays from me personally. This private online community is just one of several resources I've put together. They're all part of a course I've created to help you write effective college essays. You can join this community and sign up for the online college essay course at collegeadmissionstoolbox.com/essays. Thanks for listening to College Admissions Toolbox. Head over to www.collegeadmissionstoolbox.com to get more free tools and resources that will help you get into the colleges of your dreams.